Hi everybody, this is Sean with Lightning Vapes, and today we're going to be rebuilding the Kanger Protank 3 dual coil head. Before we get started, we're going to need a few tools, the first of which being a 4.5-inch pair of wire cutting pliers, 4.5-inch pair of round nose pliers. Ceramic tweezers are not necessary, but they are recommended. We'll also be using one of our ohm meters, some 32 gauge Kanthal, 3mm silica wick. We'll be using an EVIC Supreme today, but we'll be using it at power settings that do not exceed that of an Ego twist battery, which is about 4.8 volts applied to the coil, just in case that's all you have to work with. We'll also be using a large butane torch. We do sell smaller torches, such as this 503 torch, which is great for a travel kit, etc. But we'll be using the large one today, just because of the stand and locking feature. This one also has a stand and locking feature, but I believe the large one will help us illustrate what we're trying to get done a little bit better. All these tools can be purchased from lightningvapes.com, and there will be links in the description to them, including the Kanthal wire, silica wick, everything that you see here except for the EVIC Supreme and the Kanger Protank 3, though we do sell Protank 3 heads that come completely disassembled so that you can do your own build. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to disassemble the Kanger Protank base from the tank. We're going to set the tank off to the side, and then we're going to remove the coil head from the coil base. Now, to save time, I've already removed the wick and wire from the assembly, but the procedure demonstrated here will be the same. You would first remove the bottom pin, which should come out pretty easily. Then, with your needle nose round pliers, remove the silicone insulator, which should also come out with minimal force. Then take hold of the base and gently wiggle back and forth to remove the stem from the unit. Normally there would be a wick wire assembly already inserted into the center of this unit, so what you would do is just grab hold with your round nose pliers and gently remove that. So there we have our base. The next step will be to take some of this 3mm silica wick and chop up about 3 sections. I'm only going to cut up about 2 that are about 2 inches long, because I've prepared one off screen in order to keep the video as short as possible. So we're going to run through this once. What we're going to do is we're going to take about 1 revolution of our 32 gauge Kanthal wire from the roll. There we have that. Personally, this is not recommended, or I'm sorry, this is recommended, but not necessary. Personally, I like to torch the silica wick before assembly because it makes the wick more firm, a little bit more rigid, and it's easier to wrap your coil assembly around. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be assembling a dual coil setup. We're going to be shooting for about 1.5 ohms, so that would elicit us to use 8 wraps of this 32 gauge Kanthal around the 3mm silica wick. Now, I know that this is not Kanger spec, but I have tested it and it seems to perform much better than Kanger spec. We're going to be wrapping the coil around the silica wick as tightly, not as tightly around the wick, but as tight of a coil as possible. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. 6. And 8. Tighten up those ends and straighten them. Okay, and we have our coiled wick that should look something like this. Now, where the butane torch really comes in handy for closing those gaps. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our ceramic tweezers, we're going to press on each side of the coil, like so. If I can get focus, there we are. And we're going to apply heat. This heat will help them here to where we place them. Again. Okay, until we're left with a product that looks like this. Very tight coil, not very much space, if any. I can't see any space in between those coil wraps. Okay, so like I had mentioned, we already have one prepared that has been set off to the side. One thing I forgot to mention was before we insert these into the coil head, you're going to want to take note of the length of the legs. Have one leg that is noticeably longer than the other. That's going to come in handy later. So we're going to take our coiled base, one of our coiled wicks, and insert both of the legs into the base like so. There we have it. Note that the longest of the legs is on the right hand side. We're going to take our uncoiled strand of 3mm wick, insert it into the wicking channel like so. And lastly, our second coiled wick, we're going to use the space available on the top for the longest leg and the space available on the bottom for the shortest leg. Insert like so. Okay, we can give the legs a short tug and pull off to the side. These are going to be our negative leads, and give our short legs, our positive leads, a nice little tug. Okay, so now it's time to reinsert the silicone insulator. We're going to insert the two short legs into the center of the insulator, like so, and try to move it past the negative leads that are sticking out. Give those a small tug to make sure that they're taut, and we're going to bend these in the opposite direction of the longer legs. Lastly, we're going to reinsert our bottom pin. Give them one more tug just to make sure everything is nice and tight, and then proceed to trim off the legs. Get as close to the base as possible to prevent any kind of shorting. Some folks enjoy using a pair of nail clippers to really get in there. I find that if you do have any slack, you can simply bend it off to the side, and it should be fine. Okay, so we're going to screw our coil base back on before we reassemble completely. Actually, I lied. I'm going to trim off the excess wick, like so. The wick length on each side should not exceed the flange, like so. Okay, let's screw our coil head base back in just to make sure that we don't have any shorts, and if we do not, then we will move forward. Alright, so I was expecting about 1.5 ohms. We've yielded 1.56, which is very close. It's certainly within the ballpark, so we should be right on point. Okay, I'm going to screw the base back onto the EVIC Supreme. We're going to give a few dry fires just to make sure that our coil is functioning the way that it should. A couple pulses. See that it heats up, and you can see the bottom coil just barely, but you can see it heat up when we pulse. Everything looks beautiful. The heat starts from the center, works its way out to the edges of the coil legs, and that looks fantastic. So we'll take our top cap and our stem, reinsert them onto the coil head base. We'll take some Jolly Rancor, a nice little play on words. It's from fusionvapor.com. It's very good green apple Jolly Rancher flavor. It's one of my favorites. We're just going to prime the wick there. Okay. Take our tank that we've put off to the side, fill this with some juice. And let's give it a test fire. That is lovely. Yep, that is a good hit. Again, that's at 4.8 volts. It's the maximum operating voltage of an Ego twist battery. Of course, you can crank up the voltage. You can turn it down if you have a variable voltage battery. Also, the number of wraps of wire around the coil will dictate what your resistance in ohms is. You can try this with 28 gauge Kanthal and get more of a sub-ohm build if you're using a straight mechanical mod and get better results. The configurations are endless. You can really do it however you'd like. This is just a good place to start if you've never rebuilt a Protank 3 dual coil head. So that concludes the tutorial. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Again, the links to the materials and tools that you'll need for this project are going to be in the description. They're all at lightningvapes.com. Have a fantastic day. Hope to see you around.